PM. Roll call.
Blackwell,
Present.
Campbell,
Present.
Collins, Dockery,
Present.
Yossi.
Present.
We have enough for quorum, Your Honor.
All right, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. For a motion to approve the agenda, but there are a couple of changes. Okay.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Look at that.
Motion by Dockery, second by Blackwell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Public comment. Is there anybody in the public who would like to address the city council this evening? Now would be your time. All right. Here's where the minutes change. Consideration to approve the city council minutes for the regular council meeting on May 19th, 2025.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Yossi, second by Blackwell to approve the minutes from May 19th meeting. Okay. All-
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the council meeting from May 19th.
There's a second.
Second.
Motion by Dockery, second by Yossi. All in favor, say aye. Nay. Ayes have it. Consideration to approve the special committee whole minutes from May 19th, 2025. So the change should be, the submitted minutes should be amended to reflect special committee, the whole meeting. And then reflect the amount of $8,318 for security cameras at Hickory Creek Park would be formally voted on during the park discussion at the June 2nd meeting.
I brought this to Nevada's attention today. Committee of the whole meetings, you can't take any binding action. And the meeting that night, I wasn't here, but it was posted as committee of the whole meeting with meeting with Park. So to clean this up, we need to vote on the cameras at the next meeting and delete them from the minutes because couldn't happen.
So do I hear a motion with those changes?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Motion by Dockery, second by Blackwell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Consideration to approve the bills payable. Does anybody have any questions? Ryan?
I just had one, lady's gonna get back to me on, it was spent on a piece of equipment for pouring it out and cylinders. I was just curious on what piece of equipment that was.
Okay,
No questions?
Adrian?
But here we are.
Questions are all right. Do I hear a motion then?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Campbell, second by Dockery to approve the bills payable. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Ayes have it. 5B, considering to approve a liquor license renewal for the Double Barrel Drinkery. Chief, I seen you signed off on that. Everything look okay?
Yep, we had no issues and insurance looked good.
Like that motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Yossi, second by Dockery to approve the liquor license renewal for Double Barrel Drinkery. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay, the ayes have it. On the 6A, consideration of the third and final reading of ordinance 2025-11, rezoning 113 East Lincoln Road from I-2 General Industrial to C3 General Commercial. Jeff, has there been anybody calling on this?
Thank you, Mayor. We have not had any calls on this or on either of the other third readings, which would be items B and C.
Thank you, Jeff.
I make a motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Dockery, second by Blackwell. Roll call.
Yossi,
I'm gonna
Abstain due to conflict.
Dockery,
Aye.
Collins, Campbell,
Aye.
Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right. Third and final reading of ordinance 2025-11 rezoning passes. 6B, consideration of the third and final reading of ordinance 2025-12, updating the erosion and sediment control.
Sounds like there's been no further public comment. I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
Motion by Blackwell, second by Campbell to approve the third and final reading of ordinance 2025-12, updating erosion and sediment control. Roll call. Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Dockery,
Aye.
motion carried.
All right. The third and final reading of ordinance 2025-12, updating erosion and sediment control passes. 6C, consideration of the third and final reading of ordinance 2025-13, updating post-construction stormwater management.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Campbell, second by Dockery to approve the third and final reading of ordinance 2025-13, updating post-construction stormwater management. Roll call.
Campbell,
Aye.
Josie,
Aye.
Blackwell,
Aye.
Dockery,
Aye.
motion carried.
All right, the third and final reading of ordinance 2025-13, updating post-construction stormwater management passes. 6D, consideration to remove the South Fifth Street paving project total from Shive Hattery an amount of $50,000. Nevada, Zach. Colin, you please.
So this is kind of an update from last time when we met with the school district and a couple members of the council. So as we discussed then, this would be for paving the east side of Fifth Street, an 8-foot wide section of which is now grass, and paving it with asphalt for a pickup lane for school. And it shows kind of where, you know, the sidewalk would then get relocated to. So the removal of the existing sidewalk in place with the new sidewalk would be covered, that cost by the school district, and the city's cost that they would be covering would be for paving that 8-foot wide pull-off area. So just based on kind of the location of trees and power poles to avoid having to remove anything or move items. The area you see is kind of what we're proposing as being the paved area. So basically right where the sidewalk from Ed White connects on the north to really about the football field there on the south. That's the point where the sidewalk starts getting a lot closer to the back of curb, and the trees and power poles are closer. So I think that's kind of the logical spot for right now to kind of connect the new sidewalk and probably to end the paved pull-off lane. So cost wise for what we're looking at came in right about $50,000. So I think it should be under the bidding threshold. So we'd be able to just kind of go out for quotes for that as opposed to a formal bid. So it should help things kind of move along a little quicker in that respect.
Zach, do you think we can get this done before school starts?
That's, I think it's feasible. You know, I think we, especially since it's not a formal bid, we'd be able to send it out and get some quotes a little quicker. I think it's, you know, this being June 2nd, I think it's feasible to get something out and have someone have quotes back at least, by like early July. And I mean, I only see this work taking a couple weeks probably. Really, I think the main thing would be how it's gonna kind of the interaction of most likely two different contractors kind of working in the same area. We would probably want whoever the school district uses for the sidewalk to remove that existing sidewalk first, because that's gonna need to be out of the way before whoever does the paving comes in to put in our new boulevard. But I think it's feasible. It might be close, might be cutting it close, but if we have till middle of August, I think it's feasible if the school district can get someone on board quickly, and it sounds like they've already got some numbers from someone. So
Well, if we put it out in a 2 weeks time frame, that's mid-June.
Yeah,
and awarded by July 1st. Hopefully it can be done by middle of August.
yeah. And I think when we'll send it out, we'll just give them the completion date has to be before school starts, so.
Do we have any idea when the school board planned on starting their part of the project?
I've not heard yet, nope. I think the plan, if the council okays this tonight, would be to kind of share this with the school district to make sure, because that these are kind of the limits that they were anticipating as well. And then kind of going from there and working on getting something put together plan wise.
Cause when we looked at this beforehand, there would be three alternatives to this, one side, both sides, or a complete expansion, which is multi-million dollars. Because right now, we're not in that position, but I expressed concern that seems like many times in past history and currently present, that it's piecemeal stuff together instead of doing it right. Have to come back 5-10 years later, paying extra for it, causing taxpayers to pay extra too, which is, I believe it's unfair. So have we, is by going this route, obviously we're saving money currently. Don't know what that's gonna look like in the future. You did mention, if I heard you correctly, that just doing one side, the other side sounds like it's more maybe utilities and trees have to be removed, which would add to it. Is there any particular reason why we're only doing one side? And can you give me a little more input regarding what the school board and what they thought of the project as well?
Yeah, I think it just kind of makes most sense to just do one side, because now we're paving that whole 8-foot lane that gives that pickup time cars a area to kind of pull off to. And then on top of the paving, what we're also kind of showing there is restriping the road to, which right now there's no pavement markings on the road to clearly denote like where the drive lanes are, where the parking lanes are. So that should now provide enough space for cars to park on the west side, top side in this picture, without being on the grass. So, that's the kind of the goal of this project. And it would probably make sense to put some type of signage up as well, you know, as far as whether it's, wouldn't be no parking, but just like no parking on the grass or something to try to, you know, keep people off there. Cause that's kind of the ultimate goal of this project.
But I hope that would work and people would abide to that, but I can still see individuals picking up their kids, parking there. Not to mention the football games at night. If there is any signage, it might be kind of hard to even see that signage, and we're gonna have similar issues on the west side of there, that getting tore up and possibly vehicles getting stuck there too.
Yeah, agreed. I think it'll take a little education to the parents picking up their kids and whatnot. I think it's a good, kind of solution to get us until we, you know, it makes sense to do the larger full scale project.
Show some progress, right?
Yeah, and relocating the kind of the point too with relocating the sidewalk that the school district's gonna cover is that will be in a place for whenever it's decided to redo Fifth Street, well, where that won't have to be replaced. So that will be in a place where with widening it, it'll fit in the correct spot, so.
And we're still looking at going underground with the power then too, aren't we?
Not as part of this project, as part of the big long-term project.
But we did determine that long-term fix is something that needs to be on our CIP goals and the shorter goals, but the reality of it is not gonna happen in the next 5 years. So this is a Band-Aid, but it's a Band-Aid that's gonna help with the safety and parking and other issues. And, you know, fortunately, the school district was willing to step up right away and partner with us on this and it's covering, I'm gonna guess, probably 50% of what this total project would have costed.
Just for the record, our project and the school project's separate.
Correct.
Same area. School district has chosen to put a sidewalk entirely on their property to the width they want. So our project is just a straight estimate of 50,000.
Correct. Yeah, just going into it, we knew all the things that needed to be done. We knew that leaving that sidewalk in the place it's at now would cause safety issues. And the school stepped up immediately and offered to take care of the sidewalk relocation.
Make a motion. Do we approve this project?
Second.
Adrian, were you gonna say anything?
Look, I'm I believe it's a step, it's a step forward in the right direction. It's not the ultimate fix, though. I'm still concerned regarding it costing us more in the long run than doing it right away and doing it right the first time. But, so, shows that we're working with the school district and we're continuing that good partnership, so I would tend to vote yay for it.
All right, we have a motion by Campbell, second by Yossi. All those in favor say aye.
All right,
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it.
so,
All right.
Baker? You good?
I said aye.
But you could say something else.
On to 7A, consideration of resolution 2025-14, amending the proposed land use map of the 2011 Eldridge Comprehensive Plan. Jeff?
Thank you, Mayor. Once again, items A through E kind of go hand in hand, so I'll kind of give you a synopsis of what's going on here, and then I can answer questions if needed. Mr. Brad Bird is here. He is the developer of this project, and he can also help answer your questions if I can't. He is looking to develop a town car wash here in Eldridge behind Casey's. And so the first part of that process is to look at the future land use map. And right now, the property that Casey's is on and the two parcels north of it are identified as industrial on the future land use map. And we're requesting that those change to commercial. Right now, the Casey's parcel is obviously C3 commercial. The parcel immediately north of that, which would be part of this project, is also C3 commercial. And the third northernmost parcel is currently I2. But the land use map is showing those as all industrial. We're requesting to change those to commercial. From there, we'll be looking at a rezoning, a final plat of combining the two parcels north of Casey's into one parcel and providing utility easements. That is where the project will be located. And then we'll be looking at rezoning that so it is all C3 commercial, which permitted use is car washes in that district. I think that basically sums up what I have. Do you have anything to add to that, Mr. Bird?
No, that pretty much summarizes it. I can just field any questions that you might have during this process.
This is nice to have, so thank you for coming. But
Sure.
This will not affect what's currently on the clear, correct? That current one would stay open.
Yes, correct. We are adding to our industry here.
Thank you.
I have no questions.
Your Honor, before we get too far into it, because we have a public hearing on this, if we could vote on A and B, then move forwards.
Yep. So do I hear a motion then on 7A on resolution 2025-14?
So moved.
Motion by Dockery, second by Blackwell to approve resolution 2024-25-14, amending proposed land use. Roll call.
Yossi,
Aye.
Dockery,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Blackwell,
All right,
motion carries.
All right. 7B, consideration of resolution 2025-15, approving the final plat of Aquatex first edition.
so moved. Second.
Motion by Blackwell, second by Yossi to approve the final plat for Aquatex first edition. Roll call.
Blackwell,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Dockery,
Aye.
Yossi,
Aye.
motion carries.
7C, open public hearing for the consideration of approval of the rezoning of Aquatech first edition from I2 general industrial to C3 general commercial.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Campbell, second by Dockery to open public hearing. 7:25, roll call.
Yossi,
Present. Aye.
Dockery,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Blackwell,
Aye.
motion carries. Open public hearing.
Okay.
Nope. Your Honor, with no comments from the public, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Dockery, second by Campbell to close public hearing. Roll call.
Blackwell,
Aye.
Josie,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Dockery,
I,
motion carried.
It's 7:25. All right. 7E, consideration of the first reading of ordinance 2025-14 rezoning Aquatech First Edition from I2 General Industrial to C3 General Commercial. Your motion.
So moved.
second,
Motion by Campbell, second by Dockery, to approve the first reading of ordinance 2025-14. Roll call.
Blackwell,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Dockery,
I,
Josie,
Aye.
motion carries.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Bird.
Your Honor,
Thanks.
I have a comment.
Mhm.
If there is no objections at the next council meeting, can we waive statutory 3 readings and do them both at the next council meeting?
Yes.
Thank you for that. Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's only if there's no complaints.
Understood. No problem.
7F, consideration of first reading of ordinance 2025-15, amending the hours of consumer fireworks that can be used. Jeff, can I call on you then?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. So due to, let me get the number here. Due to Senate File 303, we need to change our fireworks ordinance to be in compliance with state law. Basically what that, law says is that we cannot restrict, firework usage on July 3rd, 4th, and December 31st to anything stricter than what it says in state code. So basically we are updating our ordinance, to reflect those changes. Basically, for elders, this amounts to an earlier start time, for that. So I've got a memo with those times in it. It would be, 9 AM, to 10 PM on July 3rd, 9 AM to 11 PM on July 4th, and 9 AM on December 31st to 12:30 AM on the immediate following day is exactly how it's worded in state code. I'm also asking, since this was just signed on May 19th, it didn't give us much time to do this before the law goes into effect on July 1st. So I am asking for the second reading, or the third reading to, be waived, and to do all this at our next meeting so that we can get this published and have the ordinance in effect on that date. I guess it really ultimately doesn't matter because state law trumps city law in this case anyway, but just to make it cleaner, if we could do that, that would be great.
Do we hear a motion?
So moved.
second,
Motion by Campbell, second by Yossi. Brian?
Clarification, we're gonna do the first reading tonight, and then you want to put on the agenda for the next one.
Second and third.
Okay.
Roll call.
Josie,
aye,
Dockery,
I,
Campbell,
Aye.
Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carried. Your Honor.
Right. 7G, consideration of the first reading of ordinance 2025-16 on accessory dwelling units. Jeff?
Thank you, Mayor. Also, due to Senate File 592, which was signed into law on May 1st, we need to update, some changes in our single-family dwelling, code of ordinance. What this bill basically did was allow accessory dwelling units, one accessory dwelling unit to be put into any single, family residential district. For us, that's our R1 district. The state law says that single family residence can either be attached or detached from the single family residence. It can be up to 1,000 square feet or 50% of a single family residence, whichever is greater. We would still follow our regular setbacks and everything that we've established in this one district or I'm sorry, R1 districts. But we're very restricted in much else that we can do. So talking about this with staff, we're recommending to update the single family dwelling definition to be single family detached dwelling, which matches up to how that type of dwelling is described in the building code. To that, we are gonna add a minimum square footage of 640 square feet and have a minimum width of 20 feet for at least 75% of its narrowest dimension, and be placed on a permanent foundation and be taxed as real property. That last portion is directly from the accessory dwelling unit law that has to be on a permanent foundation and be taxed as real property. Then we are just updating those in the definitions and adding accessory dwelling unit as permitted use in the R1 district.
Yeah, float question. How are we gonna deal with this in AG?
It's only, the bill itself is specifically says single family residential, so that's the only district that this will affect or be allowed in.
So if somebody has a single family in an AG zoning, it doesn't allow it.
Correct. Yes, sir. Great question.
No other questions, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Campbell, second by Yossi to approve the first reading of ordinance 2025-16 on accessory dwelling units. Roll call.
Blackwell.
Aye.
Yossi.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Dockery.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. 7H. There's, if the council's comfortable this to amend this to include the camera thing that Brian talked about earlier to begin the meeting, or we can put this on the next council meeting, Nevada said, for the cameras. So as it's, as read right now, it's consideration to approve the funding for Hickory Creek soccer fields in amount of $47,000 from Level Commercial Fencing and Rail, and to formally approve the $8,318 from the committee of the whole for the security cameras.
Your Honor, I don't think we can put that vote on this agenda because it wasn't advertised. I think we need to do the 83 for the cameras at the next council meeting.
All right, then we'll put on the next one. So then do I hear a motion for as it was written for the 47,000 for level commercial fence?
Actually, I think we need to have some discussion on that. At least bring up the difference between a 4-foot and a 6-foot fence and the purposes of what that fence is doing out there. And I think it's worth considering that additional money for the 6-foot vinyl at 56,000. That extra 2 feet when you're talking soccer complex is gonna make a pretty substantial difference, I would think. I'm good either way, but I just thought it was something worth having that discussion about.
To help catch stray balls and things like that?
Yeah.
It's easier for kids to climb a 4-foot fence versus a 6-foot fence.
Correct.
I would recommend doing the 6-foot fence for the total amount of 52,000.
Okay,
Galvanized or black vinyl at 56.
Well, it's a soccer field. Black vinyl has a richer look to it. Is that richer look worth $4,000 more?
I think so.
I think Scott just made a motion. He pulled one of my numbers.
Second.
Jeff, what do you think about 6 foot?
Thank you, Scott. Jeff Ashcraft, Chair of the Park Board. We debated, between 4 and 6 feet, for quite a while, and we went back and forth. I think we really, landed on 4 feet for a couple of reasons. One was cost, and we have a very ambitious plan, so we were trying to contain costs. And also, we really wanted to go with the black vinyl, so that's why we kind of scaled back. But I think we're fine with 6 foot. It'll certainly help contain some soccer balls in addition to make it a much more intimidating deterrent to people who've been vandalizing out there. We like the black vinyl because we think aesthetically it makes the park look much, much better. I know it's a cosmetic cost, but we think it's worth the cost.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Well, he did. That was before, so all right. Motion by Campbell, second by Yossi, to approve the 6-foot black mountain fence in the amount of $56,000,
Correct, for the blood law.
the level of fence. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay, the ayes have it. Seven. Thank you, Joe. Consideration to approve South First Street culvert replacement and improvement project in the proposal in the amount of $13,485. Valerie, am I calling you?
Thank you, Mayor. So there's a memo in your packet that Tony provided, regarding the culvert that has failed on South First Street near Blackhawk Trail. So that is part of the cost of what is, being considered for approval here. But in addition to that, Engelbrecht has been working on reforming the path for the drainage because it's always wet in that area. There's too much water for that to be able to handle. And so they've done some tiling and they're upsizing the tile to a 12-inch tile to help with drying that up and being able to accept all the water from the culvert. So they approached Tony for a cost sharing, which you'll see on the 3rd page of that memo. So the Bortech quoting at $4,000 to bore under South First Street for that culvert replacement, $4,600 for the 12-inch culvert piping, and 12-inch field tile cost sharing with Engelbrecht for $4,885 for that total project cost of $13,485 to not only replace the failed culvert, but also to improve the drainage pathway. And then a future cost with Engelbrecht for the old drainage reshaping at a cost of $5,000. So looking for approval for the current cost at $13,485. And then if you want to consider that $5,000 right now with that, or bring it back at a later date, which would come out of our road use tax funds, or we also have room in, this will be in the fiscal year 26 budget that we could take it out of our sales tax minor project line.
The other question I have, they're not using concrete pipe underneath First Street?
I don't know. I can confirm with Tony and get back to you on that.
Because we're getting ready to resurface it. Hopefully that's a 20 or 30-year surface. I hate to have that fail.
Concrete pipe's not common.
On all, not for boring, but on all state projects, they normally use concrete pipe for entrances and everything else.
Well, for intricate, but this is. Seems like more boring than field tile, isn't it?
Boring under South First.
This is just taking that field tile. For South First.
There's gonna be an intake there for water coming south on First Street on the west side of the road.
I can confirm that with Tony and get back to you.
Okay, then the other part is someone just recently down there has done some reshaping and regrading of that corner.
I believe that was Engelbrecht,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
they did some work already and our cost sharing on this portion that would be,
So they want additional work down there that's already been done, or they want us to pay for? I'm trying to follow that.
I think they're trying to eliminate the problem that they were fixing there, which is the excess water because of the flood drainage or the broken pipe right now going under Fifth Street. So that water is not traveling to the south side of Blackhawk Trail. It's traveling to that field where there was all that overgrowth.
yeah, it says that they recently cleaned up and reshaped the waterway that runs through the field to the east of the area of concern. They're planning to run a field tile up to the new waterway to keep it dry and have offered to cost share the tile and upsizing it to the 12-inch to help dry it up. So cost sharing to upsize it. But they are the ones that have done the work that's to the east of it so far.
So they're gonna take the water under Blackhawk Trail, then to the east, instead on the north side going down to the creek and going under Blackhawk Trail.
They are going to redirect it underground directly to the creek.
Yeah, so if you, that picture shows it pretty well. Like. So this is currently what it's doing. And they wanna, and it's apparently not flowing well that way, so they're gonna put a new 12-inch tile, take it directly across there to the creek on this side of that field. That's what they're doing. This is, if you've been past there, it's been pretty wet there for a long time,
Right.
and that's what they're trying to clean up.
I think to answer your question, there's not gonna be any intakes. This is all gonna be closed tile. It's gonna run under the road. It's all gonna be
Yeah,
closed until it opens up at that creek. That's gonna be your only opening.
yeah, that's correct.
So the farmers benefiting this? I mean, have we looked at just cleaning that ditch?
Is there future expansion of that parking lot to that property to the north there, that trucking company? Are they looking at developing more or doing something with that? Or just-
I haven't seen any plans. I don't think Ray was aware that, the work that they were doing was permitted, but I don't believe we received plans on what's gonna happen there. So,
That was my initial question when I seen the trees being removed, if those trees were left, or at least a few, maybe they could be there to absorb the excess water. So I was
right,
surprised and a little confused as why they didn't already approved it.
It was scrub brush. It looked like trees, that's because they'd been there for so long.
right.
Well, if it's a closed system, underground tiling, how does it benefit us? Benefits the farmer to the west and the property owner to the east.
Tony's notes, that overland path of water is making it unmanageable for the public works mowing and maintenance on the Black Hawk Trail ditch, and it's causing washouts.
But I could see spending a little bit, but the way this is written, we're paying for the majority of it and have the least benefit. If they're gonna bore that all the way to the creek. Or tile it to the creek.
I think Tony's take on it, that it's taking that water out of our right of way by doing this.
It is, but it's benefiting those two property owners. You know. I'd like to, have more answers to this, table this to the next meeting.
Second motion, Brian?
Yes, sir.
Is that your second? Motion by Doctor, second by Yoki to table the South First Street Culvert Replacement Improvement Project. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. Is there some government kids in the audience tonight? Could you stand up and state your name and what town you're from? Thank you. All right, when the meeting's officially over, you can bring your paperwork and anybody at this table here can sign it for you.
I got a question for the students. When's the last day of school? The fourth? What's today's date? I think you're cutting government class a little close this year. But, well,
8, board and staff activity report, Nevada.
The City Hall intern position has been posted. It was posted early last week. Our goal is to close it on June 6th and then review anything that comes in and hopefully get someone on board within a week or two after that. Our full redevelopment site review is tomorrow. We do still need a couple of headshots and bios for the website draft. I think we're just missing a couple of each of those, but we are doing that full development review tomorrow with the hope to roll that new website out in July. And then just an update on the funding options for Fellner's addition for those 3 phases with the PCC. I plan to have those funding options for consideration on the next agenda. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, can I call on you?
Frank. Nevada, I called you earlier today about the fire department. All these gentlemen are here. I think it's my understanding that we're still gonna move forwards. You say we couldn't draft an ordinance yet.
So at the joint meeting, the city attorney had brought up the point that she needs to be able to review the bylaws and those things to determine if there are any terms or provisions that we need to be aware of from those bylaws or the benefited fire district that we need to be consider when drafting any ordinance. So we're still waiting to hear back from her review on those documents and the things that we need to be aware of legally in that process.
Jeff, is it possible for you, you've been in contact with the other 2 towns that have gone through this process? Get us a copy of their ordinances on how they accepted so we can progress this forward instead of.
Sure, I can request that. I was actually in contact with Tiffin, earlier today. They went through this process. I've talked to, their clerk and administration about it several times. But yeah, we can get those. Ours will be different depending on, what we find in those documents, but.
Well,
But sure.
it may or may not, but at least we have a starting point boilerplate where we can keep progressing this on. I don't wanna hold this up.
Nope, I've started the request.
Because you had Tiffin and there was one other.
Yeah, no, I see a lot of these have, already had fire departments. We're one of the last ones, right, to be in this situation? I mean, or not, no? Do you know of any that went through it recently besides Tiffin? No,
Don't have names of them.
yeah, I mean, I've been in contact with Von Graham and Nevada, specifically were most helpful in the past. But I don't know how long ago they,
If they would send us copies of their ordinance, so we
Sure.
have a boilerplate to at least start.
No, that's.
Cause it'll take, by the time we get a drafted ordinance, it'll take 6 weeks to approve it.
Yeah, good.
I mean, we can't do anything unless we have a vehicle to accept the fire department. So I'd like to keep working on that, get theirs as a boilerplate and distribute them to the council members and that we can keep moving forwards. Shouldn't take long.
Good.
You're up now under Jeff.
You have anything else to think, Jeff?
Nope.
Thank you, Jeff. Letty, do you have anything to report?
I have nothing, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Letty. Chief, do you have anything to update us on, the police department?
Just a couple things. The golf outing was a good success on Saturday. There's a lot of participation, which was great to see. I don't have the final tally on the numbers, but I will, once I get that, I'll send that out to everybody. This week is our in-service training week, completing a lot of state mandated training, along with, recertification on all firearms. So that's gonna be busy for the guys this week. June 17th, we're doing a joint training with the fire department. For those who don't know, Air Care from the University of Iowa is now based in Davenport. So we're gonna be doing some LZ training with them. So you will see a helicopter landing and taking off from one of the area parks. We have not decided on which one that's gonna be yet, but we will obviously let the public know when that happens. Grand Haven reached out, to host an event, Friday, June 13th, the Cops and Donut event. From 8:30 to 9:30. The public is welcome to that. We'll have a bunch of officers there just to sit down and talk with community members. So, hopefully we'll have a good turnout.
What day was that, Chief?
That is Friday, June 13th, from 8:30 to 9:30 at Grand Haven.
All right, thank you.
Yep, and that's all I have.
Make a motion for adjournment.
Here, second. Second. Motion by Dockery, second by Yoshi. All in favor, say aye. Nay. We are adjourned at 7:50. The government class can bring your paper up.